Welcome back to the GSTL. Right now, Prime up a game, and FXOpen with a very unique choice to pull out ASD here. I think it's definitely in hopes that he can win this game and play against the next player because he is strong in some matchups, but you know, Calder and I were looking at the stats earlier, and we knew he wasn't that good in TVZ, but his stats right now are what, 1 and 13, I believe?
It was 2 and 13, yeah. So this is obviously, once again, we don't have that many games from ASD against Zerg, and if Joya and the FXO team are comfortable with putting him on this map, then they definitely think that he has improved a lot since he played last matches against Zerg. And the map is definitely working in his favor. I would really like him to play a standard game on Calm Before the Storm, because if you play standard against Zerg on this map, then you have a huge advantage. It will be on Boom Boom to find a way to defeat ASD here.
And we may even see some sort of crazy strategy from ASD, like 2-port Banshees or something. Who knows, man? I don't think we're going to see normal play in this game. This game should be extremely unique. We'll find out if ASD can tie up this semifinals, or if Boom Boom will take an early 2-0 lead for Prime. I am Wolf, and with me is Caldor. We're getting into the game now.
And here we go to the bottom right. We have our Zerg player for the Prime team. Just a few minutes ago, he was able to take down Gumiho on Antigua Shipyard with an impressive performance.
Boom Boom! Prime!
And it will be... I'm so curious what's going to happen here. Wolf is kind of a fan of the sneaky build by our FXO player, by ASD. I think that ASD should play a little bit more safe, but this is definitely a map where you can pull off a lot of shenanigans. So, we'll see. And here is
FXO ASD!
the second player for FXO. Yep.
Formerly known as Nuclear, and his ID was ASD FOU when he changed his ID because ASDF is on the keyboard. And when asked if he wanted to use the ID ASD FXO, the FXOpen told him to do that. And he was like, no, I want to be FXO ASD now. Oh man, right now we have likely a command center first, I'm thinking, since I don't see any barracks just yet from ASD.
The command center first is something that we see quite often. This is just a map where you can get very, very greedy. Obviously, for Boom Boom, and early expansion is not a problem. He's starting with a 15 hatch, and he takes it outside of his main base. We've seen this on Calm Before the Storm over and over again. The reason is quite simple. You have to defend the base in the front. You can use a couple of spine crawlers, and then you get the free base in the back of your main base, so you get a free third.
Yeah, you know, to see command center first followed up by gas, though, that is pretty telling that he wants to put some sort of pressure on. He may be trying to go for a fast Reaper for scouting. Deutschland, a German flag there, or I guess it's a start. Klon. I wonder what his next move is going to be here. To see the command center first, though, from ASD in a matchup that he's not historically been very strong in, means that he actually feels pretty confident playing a longer game against a Zerg player. What kind of longer game we will see is yet to be seen, but it looks like he really feels confident, and I'm actually just kind of a little bit speechless by this. And to watch him pick Calm Before the Storm and then go command center first, yeah, it's easier to play a macro game against a Zerg on this map, but if you're not good at doing it in the first place, it can be difficult.
The one thing that I'm curious to see is if he's trying to hide something, because this is very easy on Calm Before the Storm, especially when he knows where his opponent starts. He just has to make sure that he is just positioning 1 or 2 Marines at the bottom of his main base. If he, for example, builds a few buildings to the top left of his main base, there is no way the Zerg player can scout this.
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen. The Overlords are way too slow. They can't get into this position.
Right now, we see ASD scouting with his SC to find out his opponent's starting position, because the Overlord can see where ASD is mining, but ASD cannot see the Overlord's position, so he can't quite tell where he is.
Problems that you have as a Zerg player on this map, why it's usually a very bad map for Zerg. You have a hard time getting scouting information. It is easy to get a third base for your opponent, and as a Terran player, you can choose whether you want to expand towards the Zerg player, or if you want to expand, well, in this case, more to the left. But you can, as just mentioned, you can expand towards him, build a planetary fortress, siege up with tanks, and then you are suddenly in a position where you have a very, very short push distance from this one particular base to the Zerg player's third.
ASD, with that early gas, has just gone for super fast reactor Hellions. He just wants to get those Hellions out as fast as possible. We saw last games the Hellions were kind of a little bit late for the situation that he was presented with, and the reason was because he took his gas a little bit later after getting his command center. But in this case, since he got his gas so fast, he kind of cut some corners. But since it's calm before the storm, it's very hard to put super early pressure on. So I like his choice to kind of cut corners here, get those faster Hellions out.
We have the third base now for our prime player. Boom Boom is starting with another hatchery and is taking 3 gas. It will be interesting to see what kind of late game composition he's going to play. Because it's such a huge map, Broodlords are a choice that you can play Broodlords, but for the same reason as we've seen on Antigua, Broodlords are sometimes a little bit of a problem. If your opponent has a high Viking count, you might lose all of them. It takes a long time to get from your own base to your opponent's main. You can't really defend your expansions. But even if you choose a combination with Infestor Circling into Ultralisks, there are a lot of corners on this map, a lot of very close positions where Siege Tanks and Marine Marauder in high numbers are so effective.
Yeah, especially in the center of the map. There's so many line of sight blockers and holes. Now, something I want to note is that the command center is now being started for ASD, but instead of adding it very quickly as most Terrans did, he made 2 reactors on his barracks. So it looks like he wants to put some marine pressure on very soon. He's now making his tech lab for his siege tanks to come out, and he starts a starport now. So he's actually going to have an earlier pressure timing than his opponent might expect. But his command center will be a little bit later. It's something that's a little bit of a trade-off right now. Stim is halfway done as well, and he won't be able to really do anything until that's done.
He drones up very heavily once again. This time he's not relying on this many Zerglings because he knows with a single ramp he can't put on too much pressure. Then therefore we have these Hellions that are now just controlling the map in favor of ASD. He's able to force the creep back, something we've just seen a few seconds ago. And of course we have a lot of Queens as well. He's getting 2 additional Evolution Chambers while we already have 1, if I'm not... Does he have 3 now?
No, just 2 in total.
Okay, yes, yeah, I was a little bit worried here.
But yeah, I mean, he's getting quick Evo Chambers, and we have a macro hatch going down.
And we have a very interesting... He's sliding his drones to his 3rd base, so that even if the Hellions are able to get in there, they won't catch all of them. Nice just transition with the drones in order to saturate the bases evenly and get a few of the drones into the main base where they are safer.
Yeah, very good point there. And the Hellion count is just at 6. He only made the 6 before switching his factory to make the tech lab. His reactor is ready on his starport, and he'll be starting medevacs very soon. He does have a bunch of Marines coming out here. His Marine count is now at 20, but he does not have combat shields yet. He only has 1 tech lab. He researched Sim, but he has not started combat shield yet. That's going to be something that's really important for him to do soon. The first 2 medevacs and Marines that are going to come out here and do some pressure. It's going to force a lot of units. Losing a Marine there a little bit carelessly. Got to be careful with those.
Another one. He has a lot of Zerglings right now. He's getting a Baneling nest. Boom Boom Cram, that is. Latek is nearly done. And here comes an attack, and this could actually do some damage.
It really
the Queens are able to use the transfuses, though.
There's a lot of Hellions here to support. The Zerglings cannot really approach very easily. It's all going to come down to the Banelings. Something he does not want to make right now. He is making an Infestation Pit, and his 1-1 upgrades are almost done. That's going to give him a huge upgrade lead against ASD.
I like the decision to not go for the Spire immediately here. He might edit later on to put a little bit of pressure on, but I think he will choose the Broodlord transition in the late game as soon as he reaches Hive. Even though there are a few positions on this map where it's really hard to engage with Ultralisk, it is the better composition in my opinion, but you have to be very careful about the fights that you choose to pick.
Yeah, in fact, on a map like this one, most of the time, if the game goes really long, we'll see both Ultralisk and Broodlords and switches and things like that.
Yeah, you're completely right.
When your opponent makes too many Vikings or too many Marauders, whichever the case may be, you
That's
switch.
the beauty of Zerg. You're perfectly right. If you have the tech structures and you force your opponent, for example, with a lot of Ultralisks to get a huge amount of ground units, of Marauders as well, you can just try to go for a switch and surprise your opponent. And there it is. There's the Spire.
There's the Spire and the Hive. Simultaneously, he's researching 2-2. He's getting Overlord speed and the Infestor upgrade, the Pathogen Glands. He actually is taking up in so many different ways right now. He's doing everything just on 3 bases with the macro hatch.
And we're getting a very interesting part of the game, because right now the game evolves more about, oh, he's actually losing Banelings to the rocks here.
He's so lucky the Zerglings surrounded first. He actually right-clicked all his Banelings on these destructible rocks, but they are blocked. That was a close call. I was watching watching that, I was like, there's no way, and then he started using Banelings on it. I was freaking out a little bit.
But what we just see right now is that he's taking a fourth, and this was exactly what I was about to mention. We are approaching now a stage in the game where both players will try to get their fourth base, and obviously they also have to be able to defend it. And just look at the units for FXO ASD, who's just to the left side.
A huge run by set up here with 86 Zerglings.
And the wall is not completed.
He's trying to decide if he wants to commit here. He's waiting for his Banelings to come in. Oh, ASD has a lot of units at home, though. I don't like this.
The siege tanks are in position, and now we have the small run-by with the Terran army at the bottom, trying to take down drones and, of course, force the cancel on the hatch.
Oh, beautiful by ASD here. I feel like the Zergling run-by was a good idea, but it just did not work. We have a little bit of a creep spread at the backdoor expansion of our Terran player. I don't think he dropped anything, though. He doesn't have Overlord drops. From
no, he doesn't have dropped. These Overlords are a bit out of position. I think they will pay for this. As soon as he realizes that that's creep, there will be a few Marines picking
him off. He may be trying to make his opponent think he's going mutas. He's like trying to block turrets or something with the creep spread there, but it's really weird. I don't know the plan behind the Overlord spread and creep there. Maybe just a distraction. You know, something that's not discussed enough, I really feel, as a Terran player or a Protoss player, creep spread is so distracting and disorienting oftentimes on the minimap, and it really affects you mentally when there's a lot of creep spread. It's like a psychological thing. I don't know how to explain it, but you want to get rid of creep, of course, because your opponent gets vision from it and it gets a speed upgrade. But if there's creep like spread at the backdoor expansion, it's kind of annoying to deal with, in fact.
We have the first Brood Lords now morphing, and I don't think we don't have any Vikings. And the problem is that even though he's maxed out, I don't think that ASD has actually scouting information about the Greater Spire.
No, he actually has been playing so passively this game. He's going to go for a big push here. Looks like he had no intentions of really taking a third base before pushing. He's maxed out right now, but 6 Broodlords are on the way. A good drop here.
Drop at the third base. The Broodlords are ready, and this drop is picked off once again as the Zerglings rush in to defend.
Will he scout his opponent's tech here with this drop?
I don't think so. He has no idea. He only knew about the Spire, but not about the Greater Spire.
Great positioning on these Broodlords. They're in a position where they can attack, but they're easy to defend.
He doesn't even have supply to build Vikings.
Nope, he cannot build any Vikings. He has to fight now. So basically, he's got one base that's not mining, but the Broodlords will not be able to be positionally important here because they're way out of position. He needs some really good Baneling hits here. The units are split in 2 different directions. It's looking really good for ASD. Although he's not making use of it, and he gets completely surrounded. He doesn't use his other army to flank. Now he does, but it's too late. He's lost the majority of his power here.
A misstep with the unit control here and walks with the Marines right into the Banelings. Now this Marine front is trying to attack. Maybe to snap them down, but the Fungals are too good.
He actually controlled this really well, and ASD kind of botched his control. He didn't make use of the fact that his army was split into 2 groups. And then the 2 groups get taken apart one by one. Now there's a 40 supply deficit. The command center at the third base has actually been destroyed. He did not even save it.
He does not have anything to deal with those Broodlords. He doesn't have enough. Now he's trying to stim in. Will he be able to get into position with the Marines?
He will, but there's a huge counterattack going on in this natural at the same time. He can't be everywhere at once. And in fact, the Broodlords may escape. Here come the Zerglings now into the natural, as I was mentioning.
Oh my god, they kill the SCVs, they take everything down, force the Marines back to defend. There is just too much. There is so much going on right now where ASD has to defend, but he simply can't.
He cannot. The supply deficit getting larger and larger by the second. He does push these Broodlords back just a little bit, but the huge second wave of Zerglings is coming in. 2-2 upgrades for both players, but the Zergling count is just so high here. He can actually afford to trade like this.
4 bases for Boom Boom, and FXO ASD is now dropping in worker supply. His economy is in shatters. He has 1 mining base. That's his main base. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, these Zerglings are streaming in. There are literally 104 Zerglings on the map right now.
Oh my god, well, Boom Boom.
Boom Boom is out of control, taking out the tech lab on the factory, meaning no more siege tanks. And if he wants, he can actually just make a huge wave of Banelings and attack. But it looks like he's not going to wait. He's going to go now.
They are going crazy over there. Marine King is smiling, is laughing. They are all clapping. This could be the 2nd win for the Prime team.
It looks like it will be. Banelings morphing here. Basically Manor Banelings, because they're all going to die before they can actually get out. But there's just so many Zerglings, it does not matter. A few Banelings actually escaping here. The Zerglings coming to clean up the Broodlords on top of everything. GG! Boom Boom takes the second game, putting Prime up 2-0 in a very early lead that I don't think FXOpen expected.
The Prime players are on their feet. They are all clapping and cheering. Here comes Boom Boom, the opening player for the team who just took the second point. Amazing performance.
Great play by Boom Boom. ASD, I feel, really botched that game. He actually had a lot of control mistakes. He didn't seem to have a plan. Do you know what I mean? He didn't seem to have a plan with a third base. His timing for his 3-base maxed out attack was so late. His opponent's crease spread was so good. He was like, I felt like Boom Boom was actually the man behind the curtain with the puppet strings, pulling ASD around, actually controlling ASD, making ASD do what he wanted. And I felt like ASD had no control over that game at any point.
He should have scouted a lot more. He should have sacrificed a scanner or two in order to get vision. He knew about the Spire. He knew there was a Spire, and I missed the scan to see if there is going to be a greater Spire, if the hive tech was already done. He could have prepared for this. He had a really decent economy going for him. He was on 3 base. He shut down the 4th base attempt of Boom Boom for a while. But in the end, this game just completely spiraled out of control. Especially with the one misstep when he split his Marines and suddenly he tried to completely unite his army.
Yeah, it was weird
again and walk back into the banelings.
Yeah,
Suddenly,
the passing there with the hole in the ground. I think it was something that really caught him off guard. He should have shift queued, but the thing is, the way he fought that battle, he had his units split into 2 groups, which can be effective, but if they never unite or you don't make use of your second group to go in and run into the natural, for example, then your opponent just has one army that kills 2 smaller armies one by one. Now, part of the problem with the lack of scouting is if you're constantly attacking your opponent, usually you end up finding out their tech that way. And it's okay because you're losing units, you're trading well, and then you can make Vikings, you can kind of prepare. But in this case, he wasn't able to prepare. His attack was so late, he didn't put really a ton of pressure on his opponent, except for that initial attack with the Hellions, which didn't do enough damage. And that was a turning point where ASD was like, uh-oh, what now? I don't know how to take a 4th base on this map. I'm behind. My opponent has a better composition than me. His upgrades are better than mine. What am I supposed to do? And things were just out of control. Like I said, I really feel like Boom Boom was like the puppeteer of this game, just playing safely, but also kind of controlling the motions of ASD. We're going to find out who FXOpen wants to send out next.
Indeed we will.
I saw Oz move a little bit. I don't know. Oz could come out here, but I think
it is Lucky.
Lucky coming out. ZVZ, the map he has chosen is Crossfire.
Getting it out of the way.
I've got to get the Zerg down. He is just taking out too many players. Lucky is a player who can play well in most matchups. His strongest matchup, though, by far, I feel, in Team League performances has been his ZVT. So if he takes out his opponent here, Boom Boom, then that means that likely we will not see Maru or a Marine King, and it kind of forces things to go in a different way where they may have to use a Creator instead. So this is a strategic choice by FXOpen. Is Lucky the best ZVZ player to use here? Not really. ZVZ is not that impressive, but he's a player they have to use because ZVZ is a matchup where you might just be able to win easily. It's kind of a risky choice in that case because Boom Boom might beat him with an early pool or something like that. So it's a hard matchup to have to make the choice to play this early, but they need to use Lucky here because Lucky, if they use a sniper like Oz, then some Creator comes out and Creator beats Oz. Things go a little bit wrong.
The thing is, Lucky was already nervous when the team match started, and he has to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders right now. The situation in the match itself is now with a 2-0 lead. Prime is in a beautiful position. It's not like FXO is out of it. And the problem for FXO is this game right now. If they suddenly lose the 3rd game as well and Prime is up 3-0, this puts FXO in a tough spot. This is of course a bit of an upset losing the first 2 games, but still, if Lucky now takes down Boom Boom, might even be able to take down another player, then suddenly the score is tied again. But if you are down 3 points, this is just horrible.
Absolutely. I think this is exactly why Lucky was chosen here. They want to set things up for Oz later, and we'll see exactly how this is going to play out now on Crossfire here at the GSTL. Look at that crowd. I hope you guys at home are as ready as we are. This is the GSTL semifinals with Caldor and Wolf. We're in the game now.